Hello viewers, welcome back to another Nuzlocke run. Now I want to be able to shamelessly copy a whole bunch of other channels and do monotype Nuzlocks. However, I've got a bit of a problem. Most types and game combos have been done already, but if I just make a simple change, I won't feel bad at all about doing a combo that's already been done before. That change being, the run must be entirely deathless. Any feint means a complete reset. In addition, all the other regular Nuzlock rules apply. To start things off, I'll be playing Platinum, the game I know by far the best, and using Water type, one of the best types in Pokemon. Finally, I'll try and present these deathless runs and some of the big fights in it more like puzzles that I have to solve, so if you personally want to try Nuzlocke, you can see a bit more of my thought process when preparing for a tougher fight. With that all said, let's get into the challenge. I start the game, and for the first time in a while, I get to use a Piplup on my team. It's one of my absolute favourite Pokemon, but more so because of Don's Piplup in the anime than anything else. On the other hand, in the games, Empoleon is a pretty good Pokemon, but on my first playthrough of Diamond years ago, Empoleon might have accidentally ended up as a HM slave. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have ever used the starter as a full-on HM slave before in a game. For this run though, our little penguin won't be a HM slave. Except for, Sir. But in the present, Penguin just about beats the first rival fight for us. With that, let's just speed through until Rock. I catch all the potential water types I can. That includes our Lord and Saviour, Bidoof, as well as the future run carrier, Magikarp. Penguin yet again easily deals with the second rival, which allows me to catch definitely not Golduck. With Rock now reached, I level everyone up to 14 and prepare my team. After checking the stats of both Penguin and Duck, I can clearly see that Duck is the better Pokemon for this fight. Especially as it has Water Gun, which is just way better than Penguin's Bubble. It's a no-brainer. So for Rock, I'm just going to use Duck. Unfortunately, at this point in the game, there isn't much better I can do than that. Duck will one-shot and outspeed Rock's Geodude and Onix. However, dealing with Gyarados could cause issues, either through a crit or headbutt flinch. Unfortunately though, this early on, I don't have access to berries, and the only hold item with any real use is Quick Claw, which is really inconsistent. There is definitely a chance of losing Duck here, and therefore the run. However, it is really early on, and it may be quicker to just get back to this point than say grind EVs for this fight. That's the plan for Rock. I go in, and like expected, his first two Pokemon are quite easy one-shots. Gyarados comes out last, and despite it getting in 2 hits, it never manages to get a crit or flinch Duck, meaning that we get the win. Duck did come pretty close to fainting though. All in all, Rock wasn't too bad. Though he probably wins that fight like 20% of the time, it's a pretty manageable risk considering this is the very first gym. However, for the rest of this run, I need to play fights that are much tighter with way less chance of losing. If I want to beat this challenge, that is. Up next, it's going to be Mars. For Gen 4, I really like having a level cap for her Perugly, as beating this fight by overleveling it feels cheap. Especially as Mars is remembered as one of the harder trainers of Gen 4. As I'm catching the new water types and leveling my Pokemon, I'll briefly discuss the plan for Mars. First of all, I'm now going to have a simple Bibarel, which means defense curls are basically iron defenses. I'm going to want to set that up, but her Zubat has Toxic, so I'm going to give Beaver a Pecha Berry. Also, I'll use Duck's Disable to, disable Toxic. Once it's disabled, I can set up as much defense as I need to take on her Perugly. So, let's go. The strategy actually goes surprisingly well. I get Disable for free on Zubat. I swap to Beaver, though I do get hit by a crit bite, which is kinda scary. So I'm only going to stick with the one defense call. Once I've got that up, the base power rollout is doubled, so I'll go with that. I take out her Zubat in one hit. Finally, it's her Perugly. As usual, it starts with Fake Out, which cancels my rollout. However, here's a fun fact. Fake Out has the same base power as Scratch. Therefore, the damage we just took is a good indicator of what Perugly will keep doing. Unless, of course, she crits. Next turn, I hit him with a Pluck, which steals Purgley's Berry, giving the healing to our Beaver, though I'm still a little concerned with her damage output. I want to roll out again anyway, so I go for a second defense curl. After that, a few rollouts and a Rock Smash later takes out the fat cat. I think in general that was a much better fight than Rock. While crits could definitely have been painful, I still had a full HP Prinplup in the back if things got really scary. Speaking of scary, the next gym might just be the hardest fight in the entire run. I'm not kidding. We have to take on water's natural enemy, the plant. Yeah, I never really understood how grass beats water. I mean, the resistance makes sense, but offensively? I mean, I think if you threw a leaf at a lake, the lake would probably win, but that's besides the point, I guess. For this fight, we aren't looking too good. We do have access to Gyarados now, but that's the only real thing we have. Every other water type we have is likely dead to a single crit, and almost certainly dead to 2 hits. As everything dies in 2 hits as well, we can't swap out into things, as they take 1 hit and then if we stay in they die. Even Gyarados, at best, takes 3 to 4 grass knots. Meanwhile, it needs 2 hits to take out any of their Pokemon with Dragon Rage. There is a slightly better option though, so I need to go and grind up Gyarados. I get it a little bit more attack EV and grind up Friendship to max. That guarantees that Return will also 2-shot everything. I couldn't EV train it enough to guarantee 1-shots. But how is that different from Dragon Rage? Well, Return can crit and save us a turn of damage. That's pretty much it. I also grind up a little bit of speed until we're faster than Roserade. Apart from that though, there isn't much more I can do. I just don't have access to good TMs or items that could really change this fight. I'm beginning to think this might be the choke point of this challenge. If we can get past Gardenia, everything else should be much more consistent. But no matter how much I prepare my team, if she just spams Grass Knots, she'll just win. This isn't a fight we should win consistently therefore, but we have to try. I start the fight off and get some pretty insane luck. First turn, we land a crit on her Turtwig, taking it out immediately. That is a great start. But she should still take out Gyarados if she plays right. It's then that a universal constant in video games comes to our rescue. The AI just being plain dumb. Gardenia decides that she'd rather safeguard than take 1/3 of our Snake's health. That's a pretty horrible mistake on her behalf, and means we can get to a Roserade while still being on full HP. It still does hit pretty hard, but as we outspeed, and we are full health, we actually shouldn't be able to lose now. Even a crit won't save her. I hit him with Return, and do some great damage. As she lands a Stun Spore in return. Oh, okay, now I do see a way we could lose this. I just didn't think the AI would be going for status moves, so I had Sea Snake hold an Orange Berry for taking potentially 1 more hit. Still, it's definitely worth staying in, as we can still probably take 2 more hits, and if we swapped out into anything else, it would guarantee die on the next turn. Next turn, I attack in, and thankfully we don't get paralyzed. Therefore we take this fight down. Honestly, that was nothing but incredible luck, and really poor play from Gardenia. I personally don't think this fight is that repeatable if you tried this run. However, some fights, especially when restricted to only one type, require incredible luck, especially if the run has to be Deathless. I think these first 2 gyms specifically might stop a lot of other types from even being capable of a Deathless run. For example, how does Rock or Ground ever beat Gardenia Deathless? Or honestly, even Flying against Rock? I personally think a lot of types are likely to fail this challenge, so maybe the types that fail can all have a run together at the end? If of course you enjoy this run and want to see more like it. Speaking of which, I really hope you're enjoying this more analytical approach to a Nuzlocke so far. If you are, please consider liking, subscribing, and most importantly, leaving a comment. As much as I like seeing numbers go up, I far prefer talking to you guys. and trying to make the runs you want to see happen. In fact, on a tangent about that, I've recently gotten a suggestion on my Discord for a run you want to see, so it'll be the next run on the channel. Anyway, continuing this run on, it's time for Jupiter. For this fight though, there isn't too much of a plan to discuss. We just have more and better Pokemon than she does. So I let Duck take out her Zubat, and then let Sea Snake take out her Skuntank. That was really easy. Gyarados is just an insane Pokemon. This challenge would be way harder without it. Maybe not even possible to beat Gardenia. Although for the next gym, I don't need to use Gyarados. I reach Fantina, level up my Pokemon, and evolve Weasel, the Buizel. Floatzel is an extremely fast and pretty hard-hitting Pokemon that on evolution gets access to Crunch. It's absolutely perfect for Fantina. For safety, I give it a Chesto Berry in case of a random Hypnosis landing, but I'm pretty sure that Weasel will just outspeed and one-shot all her frail ghosts. The fight itself actually goes according to plan. I one-shot her Duskull, two-shot her Mismagius, and then one-shot her Haunter. I guess you could say that Fantina didn't stand a ghost of a chance. The next rival fight doesn't leave too much room for strategy either. Gyarados single-handedly takes out his entire team with returns while taking minimal damage. However, with it done, we can finally go to Veilstone City, which means we have access to the department store and the game corner. That gives us access to a huge amount more options for all the upcoming fights. I also pick up the TM for Earthquake in the hidden cave under Cycling Road. Giving this to Gyarados gives it a huge amount of coverage, especially with Waterfall, which we'll get later on. Hopefully letting it carry me even harder through this run. Which is exactly what happens next. Gyarados takes the entire team on his back and completely carries us through Maylene, soloing her entire team. That was a complete cinch, and barely interesting. So let's move on to the more interesting next gym. Wake also starts with a Gyarados, and if this run didn't convince you, Gyarados is a great Pokemon, and it's a pretty big problem for us to deal with. To really deal with it well, I need to reach quite far into the bag of tricks that Platinum has. So I'm going to teach Natural Gift to my Gyarados, and by giving it the right berry, I get an electric type attack. That still isn't enough to one-shot Gyarados though, as it has Intimidate. But if I lead with a different Pokemon, then swap into my Gyarados, that should just about let us one-shot his, most of the time. Then to play around the 5% of the time where our Natural Gift won't one-shot, I'll just do a little bit of damage with some Water move. So with his Gyarados hopefully solved, he does have his last two Pokemon. To deal with them, I teach Grass Knot to our newly evolved Penguin. That should let us easily deal with Wake's remaining Pokemon. So let's get into this. I lead with Gastrodon. Like I mentioned earlier, we need to get in that little bit of damage so we can guarantee get the one shot with Natural Gift. Plus, as I'm going to hit him with Water Pulse, there's a chance we might get Confusion anyway. Unfortunately, we don't get so lucky. But it doesn't matter because Gastrodon has done its job. I swap out to my Gyarados, and Natural Gift secures a knockout. Wake sends out his Quagsire, so I swap into my Empoleon. Then from here, a few more Grass Knots secure the win. I'll be honest, this far into the game, Gyarados is stupid strong. The most in-depth strategy we really need is just dodging Intimidates. So for the rival fight, I lead with Penguin, then immediately swap into Gyarados, who then sweeps his entire team. Cantalave Gym is a similarly easy story. As we've already been to Celestic Town, I was able to get Choice Specs, which I give to Penguin. As I've got Choice Specs in Surf, I'm able to easily one-shot all of Byron's team. Defeating him gives me the TM for Flash Cannon, which I teach to Penguin, and then using it in the next gym, I get pretty much the same fight as the last one. Choice Specs boosted Flash Cannon easily beats Candies' entire team. You have to feel sorry for Candies too. Not only does she use one of the worst types in Pokemon, but with that name, you know she was bullied mercilessly. If you know, you know. After Candies is beaten, I go to Hearthome to pick up this Eevee. It'll be super useful for one of the later fights. A point in the comments if you can guess which one. With the cat now part of the team, we move forward and we see Cyrus giving a speech about how edgy and angsty he's feeling. So therefore, he wants to reset the universe or something. Pokemon plots are always, interesting. What's said about Cyrus? You also think everyone watching should join the Discord, link in the description? Well, thanks a bunch, Cyrus. Maybe you aren't so bad after all. Moving on from Cyrus's surprisingly good speech, we go and introduce his team to Gyarados. Cyrus doesn't think that's fair, but he can cry about it. Our Sea Snake easily takes out most of his team. I swap out after his Honchkrow gets a hit in, as it does do a lot of damage, but from there Penguin is easily able to finish it off. That might have been a bit close though. A crit on a Drill Peck might have been close to a KO. After Cyrus comes a usually scary double battle, but for this run we have a Choice Specs boosted Surf user, so we pretty easily take everything down. Even better, we get to take down Barry's useless Munchlax, meaning we take down 2 birds with 1 stone. Therefore, Barry actually does damage for a change. All in all, a pretty simple fight. Cyrus 3 is next. He was so upset by our Gyarados from last fight, he's got one of his own, which is definitely scary. However, our Gyarados now finally has Dragon Dance, and if it made fights before easy, well, just look at how this one goes. And if you're pairing that with a Quagsire, a new addition to the team, that can yawn to give our Gyarados more time to set up, this fight just ends up being completely free. As you watch Cyrus get beaten this easily, I want to remind you that in other runs, this fight is terrifyingly hard. This is just how good Gyarados is, especially with stat boosting moves. That gives me an idea too. Possibly a future Nuzlocke run where stat boosting is banned, and only lower base stat Pokemon can be used. Could be really interesting, let me know if you want to see it. Anyway, Cyrus is down. There isn't too much left for us to do. Just one gym, then the league. The gym, however, it's electric. The type, I mean. To deal with it, we can't really rely on Gyarados for once. 2 Dragon Dances would let us outspeed, and Earthquake would KO everything. But let's not risk it getting hit by a single Thunderbolt. Instead, let's just abuse one of the best typings in the game. There's a reason most of my other team members are Water Ground, and this fight is why. There is still some things to worry about though. Even though a lot of his moves are now ineffective, Volkner still has some tricks. For instance, his Raichu has Focus Blast, which will hurt for sure, and his Luxray has Rivalry, so we should try to play around that, or else it'll hit really hard. Thankfully, we've got free Pokemon, therefore free health bars to use. Plus if I need to, I can always swap to a different Pokemon, say Gyarados, to bait a Thunderbolt for free swap-ins. Let's do this. I lead with our Quagsire. I want to set up some Amnesias, as that'll let us easily tank Focus Blast later on, so I use Yawn to put Jolteon to sleep. Probably not even necessary, Jolteon hits as hard as a pillow. After a few turns of setup, I go for an Earthquake, which takes out Jolteon. Next out is Electivire, which also just goes down in a single Earthquake. After that, it's Luxray. Here things go a bit sideways. I thought Rivalry worked on opposite genders, not the same. So after Luxray survives his first 2 Earthquakes, I swap out into Wishcash, who is the same gender and therefore takes a lot more damage from Luxray. We do finish Luxray off, but Wishcash ended up only half HP without any Amnesias stacked up. The real issue from this is that now a crit Focus Blast from his Raichu could kill us. Therefore, I swap out into Gastrodon, who doesn't have as good a move as Earthquake. I hit him with Mud Bomb, and while it does do over half, it doesn't KO Raichu. Meanwhile in return, Gastrodon ends up in half HP with a special defense drop, so we've got to swap out again. From here, I swap into Gyarados to bait out an electric move. For once, the Focus Blast misses as well. Then I swap back to Whiscash to tank the move for free. Then instead of doing the same thing until Focus Blast runs out of PP, I go for the rest tier. And again, another crit would have ended this run. Fortunately, I got really lucky. We get the full heal, then wake up with a Chesto Berry. On the following turn, we win the fight with an Earthquake. Still, that ending was really sloppy. Honestly, probably the worst fight of the run. Even though nothing went wrong, this fight should have been completely unlosable. Yet one crit and I would have been done. Let that set the tone for the Elite Four though. The Electric Gym should have been unlosable for our water types. The Elite Four doesn't have anywhere near as scary a type. First comes the last Barry fight. This is an odd one for me, as the level cap I use for it is currently the last Elite Four member. That leads to a pretty fair Elite Four, but for Barry having 10 levels on all his Pokemon makes the fight way too easy. You combine that with the power of a Dragon Dancing Gyarados, and this fight is completely free. The only way I can even see losing this is Barry getting multiple back-to-back crits, but we mostly play around that by using Yawn to sleep the Pokemon we set up on. That was a much more clean battle, and despite the level difference, I can at least be proud of how I played that fight. Okay then, first run, first attempt at the Elite Four. Can we beat this challenge first time round? Well, if I'm going to accomplish that feat, I need to prepare as best I can. And in doing that, I need to get probably one of the best items in Pokemon, the Focus Sash. Just acquiring it in Platinum, there is a few hoops to jump through. Namely, you have to show this guy 3 specifically leveled Pokemon over 3 days. The time part is pretty easy to cheese, though the levels are completely random between 1 and 100. In my run he wanted to see a level 85, so to not break my run and overlevel the cap, I catch a random Bidoof and use them for the 3 Pokemon he wanted to see. So we've got a Focus Sash. Anyone who can guess which fight it's for in the comments gets a point, I guess? Maybe a gold star if you prefer. In all seriousness though, I appreciate any comment you guys give me. Even those guys who keep spamming text. Oh? We're approaching Aron? Even though we know the secret of the bug type? Yeah, the secret that it's absolutely trash? Okay, that's kind of unfair. The type as a whole is pretty bad, but Aron at least, as of Gen 4, has the most of the good ones. Though some of them might be a little out of place. For this fight, it's simple and clean. Sea Snake leads, we get 2 Dragon Dances up, then after a little bit of scary double team misses, we manage to get in a hit. Yes, playing into double team isn't perfect, but it's still pretty high odds that we get in a hit before Yanmega can take out Gyarados. With our now +2 attack, we hit hard enough to one-shot all its remaining Pokemon. 1 down. Up next, it's Bertha. We have a great type for dealing with her. However, just to throw a little bit of variety into this run, I'm going to use Penguin instead of Gyarados. I got really lucky with his nature. It's timid, increased speed for less attack. That's perfect for us, as this speed boost means I only need a few Carboses to make us faster than Bertha's whole team. As Penguin outspeeds, we just need power, so I quick choice Specs. Then as for the fight, well, despite Bertha's team being rock solid, they can't swim. 1 by 1, each of her Pokemon sink like a stone against Penguin's torrent of surfs. Probably the most one-sided fight of this run. There is just no possible way for Bertha to win this. She gets 1 turn, and even if she had crit, we still win. I'm pretty darn proud of that one. And for that matter, I'm also proud of the next one too. Flint is going to be yet another Quagsire Sleep, then Gyarados Setup and Sweep. You've seen it before, so I'll pretty much just skip over this. The only scary thing Flint has is electric coverage on Infernape and Magmortar, which a single Dragon Dance makes a non-issue as we just go faster and guarantee one-shot both of them. That leads us on to Lucian. And well done anyone who guessed this is where we need the Focus Sash. Why? Well, I want to do the exact same thing I just did last fight. Set up Gyarados on his sleeping lead, then win. The only issue is, I need 2 Dragon Dances to guarantee the one-shot on his Bronzong. That means I have to set up multiple turns on his Mr. Mime, which just so happens to have Thunderbolt. The 4 times effective damage is super scary, so I'll have Gyarados hold the Focus Sash. This isn't perfect. A 1 or 2 turn sleep means I'd have to swap Gyarados out while only getting his Mr. Mime. However, the Focus Sash does mean I won't outright lose, and we could end up with a pretty interesting fight. I think in that case, plan B would be Weasel, which is why I brought them. They've still got that fast hard hitting crunch, though honestly it'll be much harder if Gyarados gets hit. With that all said, let's get into this fight. I set up Rain and set up a Yawn. This gives Gyarados the ability to swap in this turn into a guaranteed not Thunderbolt, giving us the best possible chance of them not waking up. First turn wake up is pretty unlikely, so I confidently go for the Dragon Dance. I don't get punished. Now things get interesting. Though I said earlier I need the second Dragon Dance for Bronzong, I could just wait until we're at Bronzong, or even just hit it twice. I definitely thought about this for a while, even double checking my calculations. In the end though, I go for Dragon Dance again. Partly for Bronzong, partly to guarantee we're always faster than Alakazam. Honestly, in hindsight though, it's a pretty bad misplay. 2 Dragon Dance is mostly overkill, but I got lucky that Mr. Mime keeps on snoozing. After that though, stop me if you've heard this one before, Gyarados goes on to one-shot his entire team. At the time, I thought I played this fight well, but in hindsight it was definitely sloppy. Going into this fight, I thought Focus Sash made me a lot safer than it actually did, as I didn't see that his Espeon had a quick attack. Playing into a 20% chance is really poor. If I were to do this now, I'd definitely not risk the second Dragon Dance. My luck definitely played a big part in that last fight. However, for Cynthia, I don't want luck to play a role at all. This is where Vaporeon will come in. After sleeping her lead Spiritomb with Salamander, I can swap into our Water Cat. Then I'll use Captivate to completely cripple Spiritomb's defense, then set up an Aqua Ring, and then a substitute. I can baton pass those to Gyarados, and with the extra bulk we should have an easy time setting up an overkill amount of Dragon Dances. Well, being honest, this fight isn't interesting. The plan I just described is exactly what happens. With the substitute's health alone, I get up 3 Dragon Dances, which is more than enough to one-shot all of Cynthia's team. I go for one more just to see how hard Spiritomb will hit. After the Aqua Ring recovery, we took 1 damage for 4 Dragon Dances. Well, again guys, stop me if you've seen this before, but Gyarados just goes on to one-shot her entire team. That was a brilliant end fight. Definitely one of the best of the run, and honestly, what a run this was. I didn't think I'd get this challenge on the first attempt. I guess this just goes to show how great of a type water really is, and how also just a little bit of preparation can make some really tough fights go much smoother. With Cynthia beaten, I can now enter the Hall of Fame, where from now on I'm going to thank my patrons for the awesome support they give me. It really helps keep up the motivation to work on a smaller channel like my own. Also, more cynically, mentioning it now tells the viewers I have a Patreon. Wink wink. Okay, maybe not my most subtle hint. Finally, for those wanting to start their first Nuzlocke, I hope this helps you approach some of the bigger boss fights in a Nuzlocke. If you haven't tried one before, I'd really encourage you to try one. Maybe not a Deathless one, of course, and use items if you want to. But they really do put Pokemon in a different light. In the case of a Deathless Monotype run, every fight becomes its own individual puzzle requiring pretty different solutions. Okay, yes, maybe more often than not the solution was Gyarados. However, this was still a very interesting run, which if you liked seeing, let me know. On that note, what type would you want to see next? A lot of them probably won't be possible like I said earlier, but I'll try my best for whichever one you guys want to see the most. With everything said, I hope everyone watching has a great rest of their day.